Welcome to the first time homebuyer course. My name is Brandon. I've been in real estate 9 years now, since October 2016. And really, when I first started real estate, my mission, my goal was to help first time homebuyers. Because for me, being 18 when I got into the business, I had no idea how to buy a home. I always wanted to buy a home, had no idea how to do it. So I wanted to learn how to do it and then I wanted to teach it because ultimately, to me, the American dream of owning a home seemed kind of impossible, and people still believe that, and it seems like it's even more impossible today. So I want to break some of those myths and really give that step-by-step breakdown of how to do it. And here we go. So first things first want to take a look at the market, what's happening in the market, and we're really going to focus on interest rates because interest rates are going to affect a lot of what you're doing here. Get rid of that. And we're at a 3-year low. So as you can see here, Q1 2025, we're over 7%. People kind of forget we were 7% this year. And before that, we were even higher. And the year before that, we were in the 8% range. And everyone knows after COVID ended, we basically doubled in interest rates from 4 to 8%, which is pretty historic in terms of doubling interest rates. Something we probably won't see again. But what we're expecting, what we're seeing here is rates are going to be around 6%. Maybe we'll get in the 5% range. Maybe. Don't count on it. But 3, 4%, I don't think we're going to see that for a very long time. You may see something else, but I wouldn't count on that. So expect somewhere around 5 to 6%. Now, as you can see this trend here, we're going in the right direction. A lot of good things are happening to put us towards that 5% range. But you're not going to be anywhere near 7, and you're not going to be anywhere near 5. So just get that in your mind if you're thinking about the next 12 to 24 months. Rates are going to be around 5 to 6%. Now, let's talk about the actual process. So, first things first, you have to get pre-approved. Without getting pre-approved, you're basically just wishing at that point to buy a home. Now, getting through the pre-approval process will really show you what you need to do. Next, you're going to find your house, go over that, how we do that. Then we're going to make an offer. The most exciting part of, honestly, the home buying journey is sitting down with your realtor, me, whoever it is, and actually putting that offer in. There's a lot of things that happen in a contract when your offer gets accepted, including inspections, appraisal, a lot of other terms and conditions that can happen. But two biggest ones are inspections and appraisals. And typically it's a 30-day close. So these are all the things we're going to cover today, and really your path to homeownership. Next, we're going to talk about myth versus reality. So, one of the biggest myths I always hear is you need 20% down, which is not true at all. I would say probably 70% of the buyers I've worked with this year have not put down 20%, have put down less than 20%. I've had a buyer this year put down zero. So there's programs from 0 to 15 to 10 to 5. Whatever you're able to do, it's possible for you. Obviously, the biggest common one is 3.5% FHA loan. There's pros and cons with that, though. So don't just assume that you should go FHA. We want to make sure and check with the lender which is best for you. So you don't need 20%. Buying is complicated. I mean, as you saw, there's only really 5 major steps, and I'm here to help you. I try to make this as simple as possible. I mean, this webinar is only gonna be like 30 minutes total. So it's really not that complicated. You just have to understand it and actually do the steps. Um, and I always plan out a step-by-step plan for any of my clients. And then another one, especially in the Bay Area, is student loans stop you from purchasing a home. And there's no doubt it hinders your ability to purchase, but it's not going to stop you. Um, Most buyers still qualify. It just depends on how much. And we need to find out how much when you talk to a lender. So just remember all these things are not true. Like I said, first step, get pre-approved. Without pre-approval, you're just hoping that something's going to happen. And really, it strengthens your offer. A seller would not take your offer seriously without a pre-approval letter. It shows you're serious. You're actually going through the process and actually getting a pre-approval. And it ultimately saves you so much time and doesn't waste anyone's time that's involved. Um, because you could be looking at properties you can't even afford. And what's the point of that? So you want to make sure you actually talk to a lender, sit down with them, understand, ask all your questions. There's probably a couple hundred questions you can ask when it comes to financing. So do that. Make sure you understand everything when it comes to financing. What are points? What's the APR versus the interest rate? There's a lot of different things. And of course, I can help with that as well. But if you don't talk to a lender, you're really ultimately not going to get that actual financial plan that you really do need. Now, if you want to talk to a lender, reach out to me. I will point you in the right direction. I have two fantastic lenders I work with every day, who help pretty much all my clients. So just reach out to me. We'll set up a call. You guys can chat and really figure out those numbers. But without doing this step, you're not going to know what to do next. So I always urge people, first things first, talk to a lender and just ask questions. You don't have to run your credit. You don't have to send in your documents, but just get a ballpark number of what you can afford as of today, and then set a plan in place to see where you can afford in a year. Because just because you're talking to a lender today doesn't mean you're buying today. You could plan for 12, 24 months out. And I highly, highly recommend that. Because without a goal, you're not going to be able to hit that target. So make sure you get that goal in place. Make sure you talk to a lender. This is ultimately really, really, really the first and most important step, really. The rest is easy after this. Once you get pre-approved, the rest of this process is easy. Now, really have to understand what the loans are. And like I was saying, there's many different types of loans. Conventional, FHA was at 3.5% down. VA, if you're a veteran or currently serving, you get access to a 0% down loan. And I helped a VA loan earlier this year, put down 0% and got him a credit. There's actually 0% down programs as well without you being a VA loan. So anyone can get access to these. It just depends on your financial situation, mainly your credit, and mainly your income, and of course, credit score. So all those things are going to matter in terms of what loan type is going to work best for you. Um, but ultimately, when we talk with the lender, we're going to nail down all those options. And you can always compare conventional versus FHA, what works best for you. Um, and what do the lenders look for? Like I said, mainly credit history, what your credit score is. Has your income changed significantly in the last 2 years? Mainly look at the last 2 years when it comes to income. And then, of course, your debt to income ratio. So all your debts versus how much money you make. And that's when they're going to determine what you can afford. And so this is why I really recommend you talk to a lender, because without this, how are you going to know what you can afford? So highly recommend this. And another great, option here is a down payment assistant program. Not many of these left. The biggest one was the Dream for All that you probably all saw in 2022, 2023. I'm actually helping a buy right now with it, who got approved for it this year, but they ran out of money. There's a couple other programs throughout counties. Santa Clara County, I know, has one, and Alameda County has one as well. You have to meet a specific income level to get into these. So not everyone can qualify, but it's also something to talk to with the lender and see what if you can get, help with your down payment. Now there's some caveats with them. Sometimes you have to share equity, but it's something to look into. Now, when we break down the numbers of what goes into a loan, and what you're actually paying, and everyone's talking about this new 50-year mortgage, there's a lot of things that can change with the type of loan you get. Um, but just know that your principal is not going to be the biggest piece of the pie when it comes to paying back a loan. It's really going to be interest. And so that's how banks make money, and that's how, they make people happy with, giving a 30-year loan. But as you see down here, this is mainly your interest. That's pretty much what you're going to be paying back. Your principal is here, about 1/4 of the pie. And then taxes and insurance. Those two things that will never go away ever, no matter what, even if you pay off the house. Um, so just an overall idea of what you're going to be paying. But every payment is broken down into principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Um, and taxes change by state and county. Um, Typically, you're gonna be around 1% per year for purchase price and for taxes. Insurance can widely vary now, especially in California. Um, Single family home depends on your roof really now, but you could be anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 a year. Um, so it's something to really check into when you're getting into contract. So this is just breaking down the numbers here. Now, once we get to actually looking at the homes and actually preparing, once we sit down, we meet, you got your pre-approval letter, we're gonna sit down and talk. Hey, what do you want in a house? What are you actually looking for? What do you need, most importantly? And then also, what do you want? Now, you're not gonna get all the wants, but we're gonna try to meet as many needs as possible. And I give you this list. There's two sides to this list. All these, important things. Do you have to have good schools? Do you have to be close to public transit? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Do you want an updated kitchen? Do you want to do some work? Do you want hardwood floors? All these different things that can go into a home. I have you fill this out, and it helps both of us. It helps you really figure out what you want in a home, and it also helps me search for the home that you need. Like I said, we're not going to get you all the wants, but we'll get you most of those needs. And it's always fun when you're in a couple situation and you have to do this list. I always say do two different ones and then compare and make one, because both of you will want two different things, and that just always happens. But it's a fun process, and it really narrows down what you're looking for, and you don't waste any time once you start looking at properties. Like getting a pre-approval letter, you want to fill out a home buyer's needs list. Those two things together, you're going to save months and months of your life. Okay, so how do we win? Once we get the pre-approval letter, we have that needs list. We talked about the market. We talked about what we're looking at in the home. How do we get a winning offer? So we're gonna go out, look at some homes. It's gonna take anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks to look at properties, look on the weekends, look on the weekdays, whenever you're available, and view 3 to 5 homes at one time. That way you can compare and contrast the homes, and really take video, take notes. What do you like? Does it fit my needs list? And then once you find that perfect home in that 6 to 12 weeks of searching, what do we do? How do we stand out? How do we win? How do we actually get this house? Um, and there's multiple different strategies. I have my own, and over the 9 years of experience, I think have proven to work pretty well. Um, so the biggest thing we want to think of when writing an offer is figuring out what the seller wants. Of course, we can write whatever we want. When we don't find out what the seller wants, what's the point of writing this offer? So that's the first thing I do. Talk to the agent, figure out what the seller wants. Then we sit down, talk about price. There's initial deposit involved in this as well. And then there's contingencies. And these are all the things that are going to be in the contract. I don't want to bore you with too many of these things today, but ultimately, we're going to craft an offer together to make sure it fits most of the seller's needs. Now, we're not going to give them everything they want, especially if it's a condo townhome in a market like this. We have way more negotiating power than the seller does. Now, if it's a single family in this market, we're going to give the seller a lot of what they want because we don't have much leverage. But every house is different, every property is different, and I'll make sure you understand what we need to do in this contract. And going over this contract takes 30 to 40 minutes. Understand everything you're signing. It's going to be, close to 50 pages of legal documents and an actual offer. But I'll make sure you understand, actually what you're sending in. And all this together, we put in a winning offer, get it to the seller. Let's say we beat out 3 other offers and we get the home. What happens next? Um, Ultimately, there's going to be a 30-day close of escrow from the day we get into contract. So there's going to be 30 days from when we get it accepted. Let's say it's today. 30 days from today, you get the keys to the home. Now, a lot of things happen in between, like we were talking about earlier with inspections. And appraisal. We have to make sure that inspections are done on the home. Typically in the Bay Area, inspections are done first by the seller. Now that's not always true, but we want to make sure inspections are done. We want to make sure we understand the inspections, review them all, make sure we're okay with them, and base our offer off inspections. Now, if there's none done, we'll make sure we order them. And if that's the case, typically buyers will have to pay for those inspections, cost anywhere around $1,000. Um, and then if we see anything on those inspections we don't like, we can renegotiate the terms, renegotiate the price, and change a couple things around. Now, the other thing is the appraisal. Now, when you're getting a loan, you want to make sure you get an appraisal. And when you get into contract, the lender will send out an appraiser. Typically, it takes 10 days for the appraisal to happen. And we just want to make sure that the price we're writing at, let's say $1 million, that the appraiser says the house is worth $1 million. Otherwise, the bank's going to say, hey, we can't give you this loan because we think our appraiser says it's worth 900,000. So we're only going to give you a purchase price up to 900. So that's why we want to make sure this is in place. That way we're protecting ourselves as a buyer to make sure we can renegotiate or back out based on the appraisal. So those are those. Now, biggest things to avoid. There's a lot of things you should avoid when buying a home, especially when you're in contract. I've actually had some insane things happen while I'm in contract. I had someone quit their job, which was fantastic because we had to cancel the contract because they didn't have a job and couldn't close. They didn't know they needed a job. So another thing is don't buy big items like a car, like a lot of furniture, things along these lines. This can actually cancel out the closing as well. 100% never skip inspections. I will never ever let that happen. If you even try to buy a home without inspections, you're doing yourself a disservice and even putting your agents at risk. So don't ever skip inspections. Um, Even if it's going to get you the property, it's not worth it in the long run. It's just not worth it. Don't ever do it. I don't care what anyone says. And don't let emotions lead to overpaying. This is very easy to do because it's a very emotional purchase. This is where your family's going to live for the next 5 to 7 to 10 to 15 years. You're going to create a lot of memories here. You're going to set your roots into wherever this property is. You own this. So don't let these emotions lead you to overpaying. Let your agent guide you. I will always tell you, hey, you're gonna overpay. You may get this property because of that, but you're overpaying. And if, as long as you're okay with that, that's all right. But there's certain things we can do to make sure you don't overpay. Remember that. So I just want to give you a quick example of what I've done. This was a townhome in San Jose near Communications Hills. Just a quick review here. I won't bore you with it, but just to show you. Their situation was actually a really great story. They were looking for, less than a year. We were looking on and off, and as we got more serious, they got pre-approved. 3 weeks into looking, we wrote an offer. That one didn't work out. We got outbid, and then next one we got it, and yeah. So it was about 4 to 6 month or 4 to 6 week process before we got into contract. Another month to get it for them to close, and so about a 2 to 3 month process for them. So that's kind of a guide of example property. And first time home buyers as well. Their dream home. So I love doing this. This is honestly my favorite thing. Selling a home is fine, it's fun, whatever. Get to market it. But when you get to help a first time home buyer like get the keys to their first home, it's just like the best feeling in the world. Um, and really why I'm doing this. So I hope I answered a lot of your questions, a lot of the myths. If you want to, talk one-on-one, really figure out what you need to do to buy a home and, continue your journey towards home ownership, feel free to scan this. I'm going to send out a link after this webinar for you to click on if you'd like to do a one-on-one call. That way we can go over your situation, your specific needs, and what we can do from there. So feel free to scan this. I'll send you a link as well. Also, I'm going to be sending out the home buyers need list to you guys. That way you can fill out the home buyers need list. And then if you have any questions about the lenders I can always send you a list of lenders as well. So feel free to scan this. And then let me check if I have any questions. Q&A. No questions. Okay, perfect. All right. So that's it. That's me. Thanks for coming. I hope I made this quick for everyone. I appreciate you coming. I knocked it out in 22 minutes. There's plenty of other things to cover. So if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out. 408-916-6392 is my cell. At Brandon in the Bay on Instagram. Feel free to follow me. I will be doing more of these. This was the first one. I'm going to have an investing one coming up and more home buyer ones as well. More financing related, more actual process related. So this was just the first one, just to get it out of the way. But more to come and more lives to come as well. I kind of missed those. So thanks for coming. I really appreciate you guys. If you need anything, I'm always here to help.